Welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast, and specifically the Archetype of the Week, where I do energetic readings to help you harness the magic of what we are being invited to explore. I'm Emily Greenway. My work is devoted to spiritual leadership, helping thoughtful, high capacity humans reconnect with their own signal so that you guys can create meaningful impact without burning out and without giving up your energy, your clarity, and your devotion to your work. So many of us were taught how to perform well, how to produce well, and how to succeed inside of systems that never asked us who we actually are and what we're here to create. Over time, this disconnection shows up as burnout, confusion, or that quiet feeling that something about our life is misaligned. This space is where we return to ourselves. On this podcast, we're going to explore the intersection of science, spirituality, and human leadership. We talk about energetic hygiene, cyclical living, soul-aligned values, and the deeper responsibility of building work that truly belongs to you and your soul. Like I said earlier, one of the ways that we're going to explore this each week is through the Archetype of the Week. These readings are invitations. Archetypes give us language for different aspects of the human experience, parts of ourselves that really get pushed aside by conditioning, by pressure, by the roles that we've learned to play. When we sit with an archetype, we start to create space to notice what is moving in our lives and what might just be asking for our attention. So my hope for you is that you listen to these readings as a moment of reflection, as a pause, as a place to notice what feels true for you right now, what might be ready to grow, and what might be asking for you to finally reclaim it. You do not need to force meaning from these archetypal readings. I just want you to listen. I want you to stay curious. I want you to allow whatever resonates to guide your awareness for the week ahead. All right, let's begin. This week, the archetype that stepped forward in these readings is the Queen. Her energy is very specific in this reading. It is an unmistakable power. If you haven't listened to this before, I do these readings about a month ahead of time in preparation, creating a sacred space, asking our well ancestors, our guides, our spirit team, source, all of that of the utmost light, love, and compassion, and only divine light support us, hearing what the collective needs. When I read energy, it is about giving us awareness into maybe what's been blocking us, into what we need to be aware of. And so this week, the Queen was arriving because life is asking us to look at how we are governing ourselves, how we are governing our energy, our choices, our boundaries, our willingness to receive support. Man, that hit me in the chest. I had to journal on this yesterday, so deeply so. Know that I'm doing this work with you. Willingness to receive support is so powerful, especially for those of us who are in positions of leadership, who are creating businesses, who are holding families, partnerships, children, a vision. But the Queen here is not just about power. She is about a true responsibility for the world you are creating through the way you live. When this archetype appears collectively like it did for us, it means we are standing in a moment when many of us are really being asked to step into a different relationship with our own authority, not authority over others. We may be seeing that externally a lot. I am in the States. If we just look at what's happening politically, if we look at the systems, the structures that are falling when I am recording this in 2026, March 2026, we see this desire from so many groups, people on social media, all of these things to be right, to be the authority. But the Queen here is about authority over the direction of our life. And I know that sounds really beautiful in theory, but in practice, the Queen archetype is about bringing us face to face with something really uncomfortable first. Dun, 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 that is the shadow. Because every archetype, we know this, it carries both light and shadow, just like we do. And the shadow of the Queen is something a lot of us know very, very well. The shadow Queen is reactive. Think of the off with your head archetype that I think we know a lot about, the Mad Queen. The shadow of the queen energy that's reactive, she is feeling like she constantly has to prove her place. She becomes controlling. She starts to tighten her grip on everything around her because she feels unsupported. She becomes impatient. She becomes critical. Maybe she even becomes harsh with the people around her, people that are supposed to be supporting her, her friends, her family, her support system. But if we're honest here, the harshness usually begins with the way that she speaks to herself first. The shadow queen appears when someone is carrying responsibility without structure that allows them to hold it. Ugh, another stab in the heart for me. I totally resonate with this on a deep, deep level because we are in such an individualistic society that tells us just to figure it out. And when we don't just figure it out, we start to feel like our life is collapsing. We start to feel the overwhelm because of the expectations put on us. And the shadow queen harbors that and says, well, no one else is going to support me. Well, off with their head. And when I was sitting in this archetype during the reading, that theme came through over and over and over again. Structure, support, systems. Because the queen does not rule alone. The queen has a court. She has advisors. She has alliances. She has protection. She has systems that allow the kingdom to function. But a lot of us have been trying to lead our lives without any of that. And so what happens when we do not have that divine masculine support? We overextend ourselves. I know a lot of us can say, whew, I get that, girl. We overextend. We try to prove that we deserve the throne by doing more. We're working more. We're caring more. We're the reliable one. We're the one that always has the answer. We're the one that always keeps things together. And at first, a lot of people will admire that. High capacity is rewarded in this world. And so we internalize that. But eventually, the system inside the body will begin to feel the strain. And so the mind starts to feel with decisions. The calendar starts to feel with commitments that were never consciously chosen by us. It was just like, oh, I need to do that. I was invited, so I better do that, or they're not going to like me, and they're never going to invite me to hang out again, and then I'm going to lose all of my friends. Is that just me? Okay, anyways. So the creativity, so the calendar fills with commitments and creativity that we used to have maybe even when we were little, and it used to make us feel so alive, that creativity starts to disappear because the systems and the structures have dissolved within the body. And for a lot of people, they still may look really successful externally, but internally, they feel like they're managing a kingdom that never stops demanding something from them. That is the shadow queen. And so many people listening may recognize themselves there. Some of you are still inside that pace right now. You're still producing, you're still performing, you're still telling yourself that if you just organize your life a little bit better, things will come down. But what the queen archetype is really asking us to consider this week is something deeper than organization. It is asking us to look at governance. How are you governing your life? Because leadership, true leadership, that this beautiful world that is experiencing hell right now, it needs leaders. And leadership begins with self-leadership. It does not begin with control. Leadership means you understand the environment you are creating. Because leadership that is control, and I say leadership with quotes, when it turns into control, dictatorships, fascism, removing access to things, that is based in fear, proving the not feeling the support. But true divine leadership that creates impact in a well world means you understand the environment you are creating, and it is one of love. It means you understand the commitments that you're allowing, the pace of life you're accepting, the conversations you engage in, the way you speak to yourself when something goes wrong. Leadership also really means recognizing when the system you are operating inside of is no longer sustainable. And some people listening have already crossed that threshold. They've hit a wall. They've stepped away from something. Maybe they quit a job. They went on a sabbatical. They said, I cannot keep up with this pace. Maybe they said this version of success that really looked impressive, it does not feel good. And when that happened, something really surprising happens because we've stopped. We say, okay, well, this will fix it. This is the thing I thought was causing pain, so I'm going to stop it. But when that happens, confusion sets in because the old structure is gone and a new one hasn't been built yet. So this is the moment where the queen archetype becomes incredibly powerful. The queen does not wait for someone else to organize her kingdom. She participates in shaping it. But she does not rush either. She observes, she listens, she gathers information before making decisions. And that energy feels so freaking important right now for us because there is a collective invitation to pause before we react, to look really carefully at what structures are actually supporting your life and which ones are draining it. What are you buying into energetically? What are you saying, this must be the truth, so I have to give away my power to it? Because some of us are standing in a moment where there's a deeper calling that has started to stir within us. You know that you want your work to matter. You want your life to feel aligned with something meaningful. You want to contribute in a way that actually reflects who you are from a soul level. But clarity that how it just feels a little out of reach. And the instinct here for a lot of us, because it feels like things are being threatened, is to search faster, to figure out more strategies, to have more ideas, to have more input. But the queen archetype is inviting us to a different type of movement. And that is the absence of it, stillness. The queen in her light does not chase every opportunity that passes through the kingdom. She discerns, she chooses, she builds her life around what truly belongs there because she has an orientation point. Those soul aligned values that we talk about so often in Rise to Her language. That is our unique soul code, that orientation point that we can navigate our life through. Because so many of us are building it, are making decisions on core needs. That safety, that love, that, oh, I value family. Yeah, well, we all need support. We're humans, right? But we have a unique soul code, and the queen understands that. She builds her life around something that truly belongs there. And that discernment requires something a lot of people are not used to allowing, and that is support. This came through so strong in the reading. That's why I'm emphasizing it again and again, because the supported queen moves differently than the unsupported queen. Hey there. If your body keeps asking for a different pace than your life allows, if you're moving through the year without clear moments to pause, reflect, or reset, if your intuition keeps whispering and you keep overriding it, Rooted was created for you. Rooted is a seasonal living membership for people who want a more ritualized, spiritually connected way of life, one that actually supports the work and impact they care about. Inside of Rooted, you learn how to live in rhythm with the wheel of the year, when to initiate, when to tend, when to rest, when to release, so your energy stays intact instead of slowly wearing thin. You'll explore your soul contract, work with energetics, and build practices that help your intuition guide your decision, not just inspire them. You get access to workshops like Shadow Work Portal, the Portal of Joy, and the Soul Contract Workshop, along with a growing vault of meditation and somatic practices this community returns to again and again. We gather for live full moon magic calls, bi-weekly coaching sessions with me, and weekly integration prompts to help you stay anchored in the season you're actually in. Rooted is available at a special pricing. You can join for less than $1 a day or receive full year access at 50% off. Rooted is for the curious, for those who want to stay devoted to their work without losing themselves in it. You can join at www.risetoher.com/rooted, or you'll find the link to join in the show notes. I'll see you inside. When someone knows that they are resourced, their body, their energetic field starts to soften. They don't have to be in defense mode waiting for the tiger to attack them. They become more patient, thoughtful. They begin to make decisions from this sense of steadiness, of groundedness, instead of like, oh my God, I have to protect myself. We all know people that have been in jobs where they don't feel like their boss has their back, right? Or they don't feel like their partner will defend them, or their parents, right? So they go into the defense. But the resource queen that allows this divine support doesn't experience that. The queen knows. The queen who knows she has support does not feel the need to prove herself. She already knows where she stands. But the unsupported queen, she feels like she has to consistently demonstrate her work. And that is where the exhaustion begins. So one of the questions that the queen archetype is asking us to sit with this week is very simple. Where are you still trying to prove that you deserve support? The queen is not defined by how much she can endure. She is defined by how well she organizes the kingdom that she inhabits. And that includes her own inner world, her own inner kingdom. The queen archetype also asks us to look at the way that we speak to ourselves when we make mistakes. Are you punishing yourself? Do you replay the moment again and again in your mind? Do you hold yourself to a standard of perfection that no human could actually really sustain? Because the shadow queen is really ruthless with herself and therefore inflicts that on her kingdom. But the embodied queen practices repair. You know, that rupture and repair. She takes responsibility. She apologizes when needed. She adjusts. And then she moves forward. Because she understands that leadership is not asking her to be perfect, but it is requiring her to have integrity. Integrity with how we use our power. And every person listening to this podcast right now carries so much power. The power to influence the direction of their life. The power to shape their environment. The power to choose where their energy goes. But that power becomes distorted when it's mixed with fear. That fear of losing status, of being misunderstood, of not being worthy of the life someone secretly wants to live. The queen archetype invites us to look directly at those fears. This is not about eliminating them overnight, but it really is to recognize them, to start to shine the light. Because awareness changes the way power moves through us. It is the first point of every arc that people go through when they work with me inside of Rooted or inside of the one-on-one inner oracle mentorship. Awareness, showing what has been hidden, what has been ruling us to create our personal hell. Awareness changes the way power moves through us. And something else appeared in the imagery during this reading that felt really important. On the card, you'll see a lotus flower, a snake, and a ruby. And these symbols are so ancient. The lotus represents emergence, something rising from the depths into full expression. The snake represents wisdom, transformation, the ability to shed a skin that is no longer needed. And the ruby is associated with vitality, life force, courage. Together, these symbols speak to a moment of full transformation, a moment where something in your life may be asking to be reorganized. Because the version of you who built your current life is not the version of you who is ready to lead it now. This is a beautiful, sacred transition. It can feel really freaking scary. I get that. But when you are a resource, when you have your community, and I encourage you, tap into your community. Call in the people that you want. Hold that vision. So this week, instead of asking yourself how to do more, try asking a different set of questions. What structures in your life actually support you? How can you allow in more support? Where are you trying to prove your worth and then it's coming out with hate, anger, pride, protection? Because the queen archetype is not demanding that you become someone else. She's asking you to remember who you already are. A sovereign being capable of organizing your life around what truly matters. From a place of grounded authority, and when enough individuals begin living this way, the collective shifts as well. Because leadership spreads through example, through safety, through personal power. So as you move through the next couple of weeks, notice the moments when the shadow queen emerges. The impatience, the pressure, the instinct to prove. They're invitations to pause, to breathe, to reorganize the kingdom from a place of deeper wisdom. And each time you do that, you start to reclaim a little more of your power. The power that builds a life that you can actually inhabit with full presence. You can sit on your throne and rest. That is the medicine of the Queen, and it is available to all of us right now. We dive even deeper in this inside of Rooted, which is my seasonal living and energetic portal of people that are dedicated to building a beautiful, rooted life aligned with their soul contract, supported by seasonal energetics, wisdom, something that slows us down, resources us. You can join for free for 7 days, get a taste of the magic. The link will be in the show notes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tapping into this energy. When we collectively hold this, oh my freaking gosh, magic will happen. All right. Enjoy being the queen. See you next time. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram @rise2her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.